and jabbed his finger into his chest. Frank grabbed him by the wrist and twisted his arm behind his back. "I've had about enough of you." He nudged him forward. "It's time you face your accusers." He would never take on a client again without first doing a full background check on the person. Someone he trusted had referred James to Protection, Inc. Since his schedule had been clear, other than planned time off, he'd taken him on, much to the frustration of his business partners. "This is the end for you. I'll ruin you and your business." Venom practically oozed from James's mouth. Officer Brady walked around the squad car. He nodded at the man who'd followed them into the alley. "Who's this guy?" "Good question. I'll let him explain, but I believe if you investigate James here, you'll discover he embezzled the man's money." James tried to wrench free. Frank held tighter. "Don't. Just don't." At the end of what had proved to be a rotten Friday, Frank pulled into his garage. He got out of his car and noted Katrina had parked in front of her house across the street. Odd. She usually pulled into her garage. Maybe she had plans to head back out. Too bad. He would have liked to have seen her tonight. He closed the garage door and stepped into his house, flicked the light on, and kicked off his sneakers. He padded to the front room off the entryway, then plugged in the Christmas lights Carissa and Mark, his business partners, had insisted he needed on his front windows. He had to admit, there was something soothing about the tiny white lights that framed the large picture window. The tension in his shoulders eased as he closed and locked the door behind him. Thank the Lord he wasn't a cop anymore and forced to deal with crooks like James every day. Turned out the FBI had been investigating his former client. At least justice would be served, and the man was out of his life. Now, all Frank wanted was a hot meal and his favorite recliner. He padded to the kitchen, rubbing his hands together. The roast Carissa taught him how to make in the crockpot smelled amazing. Boom! Frank ran to the front window and gasped. His neighbor's garage had been demolished and was engulfed in flames. He tugged on his sneakers, threw open the door, and then ran across the street. "Help!" Katrina White shouted from under the commercial-style metal shelving rack she kept in her kitchen. The pressure on her back made it difficult to breathe. She should have listened when Frank suggested she secure it to the wall. "Someone help!" She had to get out of here. She pushed with all her strength, but the rack wouldn't budge. Smoke floated into the room. Her pulse thrummed in her ears. Her house must be burning. "Katrina, where are you?" "Frank? I'm in the kitchen. Hurry, I'm trapped." She gasped out the last words as the smoke grew heavier. A dark form rounded the corner. He stooped beside her. "I'm going to raise the shelf. Can you slide out?" "I think so." He lifted the unit. "Go." She belly crawled out from under the burden. "Thanks." "Let's get out of here." He turned toward the front. "No." She gripped his arm and pointed to the door in the kitchen. "This way." He nodded. She grabbed her purse, which sat on the counter beside the kitchen door as they rushed outside. Smoke billowed after them. "Come on," Frank said. "Let's get away from here in case it blows again." He coughed as they hustled out the backyard and through the side yard to the front of her house. Sirens sounded in the distance and gradually got louder. He turned to face her and gripped her shoulders gently. He looked her over from head to toe. She'd never been so happy to see anyone. "Thank you for rescuing me. I could have died in there." She shuddered. Had that been the point? Had the conversation she'd overheard in the break room a few days ago really been what she'd thought? Whoever had been in there must have known she'd heard, and they were trying to silence her. Frank pulled a piece of pasta from her long, blonde hair.